This is a conscious decision that you've made, and you've made that decision with or without a partner. And you should be comfortable. You should be happy. And you should feel in control of your decision. Hello, everyone. I am Dr. Aisha Rush. I know that it has been forever that I last did a video, and I'm sure that that's left some people baffled as to what has me, away from, Instagram and my YouTube page for so long. Well, the secret is out. I am expecting baby number 8. And so I have been excited, but also extremely exhausted with trying to be an incubator for this little baby. The one thing that I wanted to share in my video today is talking about women in their 40s and having babies. My last child, baby number 7, was born when I was 41. We did not necessarily have any trouble getting pregnant with that little one, but it was a little bit more challenging and not as quick as what we thought with our previous pregnancies. And with this pregnancy, of course, both of them were a wonderful surprise. This pregnancy, I definitely did not foresee happening at the ripe age of 44. But somehow here we are. And there is a process. Of course, women are born with all of the eggs that they will ever have. So as you age, your eggs age as well. And so my eggs are 44. For me, and my husband, what that meant is us doing genetic testing, because that was just a choice that we decided to make. So there are multiple reasons, for women to decide to do genetic testing and for women to decide not to do genetic testing. What I wanted to cover today is, what that looks like for women in their 40s and what that genetic testing is about. Much of the testing that's done is screening testing to see if you are at risk for genetic abnormalities. There are diagnostic tests that can be done as well, but at the end of the day, those tests tend to be a bit invasive and they do carry risks. Things like the first trimester screen that includes blood and an ultrasound, those are going to be testing for some of your more common genetic abnormalities, such as Down syndrome, which is trisomy 21. There are some people who do integrated screening where they look at the first and the second trimester screens, and they look at the risks associated with both. Now, diagnostic testing is going to be chorionic villi sampling, which is done early in the pregnancy, which is done in the first trimester. And this is going to be taking a sample of the chorionic villi, which means that this is a bit of an invasive procedure where they actually have to, put you on the bed, put you in stirrups, and actually take a piece of the, what, in simple terms, just the placenta. So it is actually taking cells and looking at the cells, under a microscope to look and see if there are any genetic abnormalities. The other more invasive test is going to be an amniocentesis, where they're going to be putting a needle through the abdomen or the belly and into the uterus and taking out some of the amniotic fluid. And then they take that, culture cells from that, and then look at look at any genetic abnormalities from the cells there. Other screening tests can be things like the NIPT, or non-invasive prenatal testing. And this is one that is done by blood. It's one of the more accurate screening tests, and a lot of women will do this test today as compared to the other tests that I mentioned, just because of its level of accuracy. The unfortunate thing about this test is it does not, it's not often offered with insurance coverage as much as some of the other screening tests are. But we are in a time where women sometimes do not have insurance. And so for that reason, it's also good to know what the costs of these tests sometimes are. And with the NIPT, that's one that I often will get patients asking about, That's one that is going to be anywhere from that $750 to $1,500 range. But again, prices could be coming down because it's one that's often chosen by providers and patients to do a little bit more often today than before. So then what does that feel like to go through that and to have to wait for those results? I can just say from my perspective, it wasn't pleasant. Looking at it from an OB-GYN perspective, many people like to do it at around 10 weeks or so. But if patients are looking to potentially terminate their pregnancies, that definitely puts them in a position to have to make a decision fairly quickly if they're looking for a first trimester termination as compared to a second trimester termination. And second trimester terminations can carry a bit more risk. That wait can be exhausting and scary. But what does life look like after all of that? Once you know that you're growing, once you know that your fears have been abated and you're growing this baby, and what does your body feel like at 40? Well, I can definitely say I'm not the 21-year-old woman that I once was when I had baby number one. With that pregnancy, I could pop out of bed, do the things I needed to do, hold, 2 or 3 jobs. At the time I was in undergrad still. My husband and I got married very early. And so I was able to just pop around, walk on campus and do all of these things, even with swollen ankles and all. But I wasn't as exhausted. This time around, I need my 7 to 8 hours of rest. And, what women have to often understand is that it's not a matter of us losing our footing or losing our step because we're aging. It is a normal part of life and it is a normal part of existence. We are going to age. We are going to, have that feeling that our body is breaking down on us from time to time. This is normal human physiology. The goal is to realize how young you are at heart and in your mind. And for those women who are trying to even become pregnant, essentially, in their 40s, getting out of the mindset of this is not what's supposed to happen because you're 40. No, I never thought that. I never had that thought process. And I think that that's really important for women who are going through this or trying to become pregnant, is to understand that life is changing, technology is changing, and you're only as old as your mind and, tells you. When you're, the mind-body connection is amazing. And interestingly enough, if your mind tells you that you are 70 years old, you're going to feel like you're 70 years old. Now, don't get me wrong. There are times when the body just does not, keep up with the mind. But I think that people reconcile with that. And when they do that in a great way, it shows in their overall health in general. I'm not going to be misleading in saying that it's not more difficult for women in their 40s to become pregnant because, of course, ovarian reserve is not as robust as it was before, which means that the number of eggs that you have available is not as robust as it was before. There are some women who do go to fertility specialists, and the fertility specialists will recommend that they get donor eggs just simply because their egg quality may not be great, or the amount of eggs that they may be able to retrieve, and after being stimulated may not be great. And so there may be that recommendation to just go ahead and use donor eggs. But even if a woman does that, I want to convey the idea that carrying a pregnancy is still very much a possibility. But the other thing is we have to be kind to ourselves. We have to be kind to our body. And we have to be able to rest and to really be a reasonable incubator. And, that means, of course, getting adequate sleep, eating the right things, and, just being an incubator for your baby that you would want somebody to be for you, essentially. Making sure you eat all the right things, and also not using pregnancy as an excuse to decide to gain 50 pounds. Not a great idea. Not using pregnancy as an excuse to, eat a tub of ice cream, when that's something that you wouldn't normally do in general. Just like there are health concerns when you're not pregnant, there are health concerns when you are pregnant. So the reality is you want to still be on top of your health and not use this time to be reckless, but to be cognizant of the incubator that you're truly trying to be for your baby. The other things in terms of this that comes up that are, challenging is what others think of you, right? I had some of my friends actually say, "Oh, Aisha, you don't need any more children." And I said to myself, so why exactly does anybody care what comes out of my vagina? I don't know. So then for those women who have had people question them or shame them, or even so much as say anything related to you having a child in your 40s or even at all, the question becomes is, why do you care what's coming out of my vagina? Now, don't get me wrong, there are reasons why some people do have that question for some women, and sometimes that question is warranted, as there are sometimes psychological, social, and genetic or, medical reasons why one would question that, because some women are at higher risk for certain things. But that is something, what I'm leading to here is just the bit of shame that some women may feel, from others when you are in this position of that goddessness that you are exuding with a pregnancy in your 40s. And, other women are, in a different phase in their lives, and they kind of want to put you in that box with them. You don't have to be in that box. It's okay. This is a conscious decision that you've made, and you've made that decision with or without a partner. And you should be comfortable. You should be happy. And you should feel in control of your decision. Now, I can't say that about everyone. I can just say that personally about me. And that is I had to say to myself, I cannot feel ashamed. I cannot feel bad. This is a wonderful thing. It's a beautiful thing. It is a lovely thing to be, soon to be the mom of 8. But that's just my story. And I know that others too have similar stories and don't necessarily know that there's somebody out there with the same story and have dealt with some of the same challenges and fears and triumphs that they faced. But I'm here as a face to say that people like us do exist. There are people out there that still have 8 children. And there are still women out there that are having children in their 40s, even more so now than, before. And I'm happy to be, that person who can bring this information to women and also be an OB-GYN on top of that. I wanted to share this video with women so that they understand that the challenges that many of us face, but to also know that being pregnant and fabulous at the same time in your 40s it exists. With all of that being said, I want to thank all of you for tuning in and for listening. And also, if there are comments or questions, I'm always available for that. I will post part of this on Instagram, and I will also post this on my YouTube page for you all to see. So I hope that this was helpful for someone out there. And again, I don't share a whole lot of my life, but I thought that this was something that was necessary for so many women out there. You all take care of yourselves. Stay safe.